Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents. With me, your host Valerie, and sometime kitty co-hosts Miss Purrington and Mookie are safe at home. We are recording live from the Fallout Theater podcast studio. ComedyWham.com. Paper rustling is also a really great sound effect. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our advice column, Rochelle Takes on Comedy, our festivals page listing upcoming festivals across the country and the world, and, if you're interested, the 2023 FPIA contest page has been out there with final results for a while. We're best known for our events page for live comedy shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW, where 100% of the entries you see come from comics and producers. If you want your show featured on the calendar, click the Submit a Show button from the top of the homepage or events page to complete the short survey. It's free and easy. Tag us on your Instagram stories and we'll share your show promo to our Instagram followers. Want to support these resources we provide? You can donate to Comedy Wham on PayPal, Venmo, or even Patreon. Click the Support CW icon on our homepage to see the ways that you can help us. Now back to our podcast. Launched in 2016, the Podcast Project brings you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and we usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. And if you like this podcast, please, please, please rate and review us. Today, I am talking to
Amy Knop, and I am a showrunner for Come At Me, a weekly show at Fallout Theater. In addition to that, I'm a teacher of improv at Cold Town Theater, and I'm in a weekly house team there called A Very Special Episode, and I'm a co-festival director for Austin Sketch Fest.
Hey, I'm Isaac Garza. I am also a showrunner for Come At Me. I'm also a filmmaker here in Austin, and I am also in a Herald team at Cold Town Theater called All Night, All Night, All Night.
My name is Irion. I am also a showrunner for Come At Me. And I am in a very special episode, a weekly house team with Amy. And I do a little bit of acting around Austin. Just finished a play. And now I'm back cozy in my home of comedy. So, yeah.
And you can see the three of them in one way, form, or another every Saturday night at Fallout Theater. And now Comedy Wham presents our guests, Kyle Irion, Amy Knapp, Isaac Garza of Come At Me at Fallout Theater.
Hello.
Hey!
Okay, we did it. We got through the intro. Yeah. We're real podcast pros. So.
You really, yeah.
I was so smooth.
You think that was smooth? I was worried about mine. I just now I was wondering if we should ask to do mine again.
I feel like I said the word sketch in a way that nobody could understand what I was saying.
I guess because you guys did so poorly, I felt I did so.
Yeah, that's probably you really stood out in a good way.
I didn't even do anything special.
I feel like I just was like, wow, like you two sounded, you have so many accolades, and mine was, my extra one was, I was in a play.
you could have said the name of the play.
You didn't even
I was in a play. I was in the Jarrett Productions presentation of Death Trap, which ran for a few weeks. Yeah, 8 of 12. So it was a very good show. We did pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good time. But
you guys don't need me because you're just having the conversation amongst yourselves.
No, please stay.
Don't go.
It's an alternative Kyle just talking the whole time.
Yeah, it'll just be me talking to them about.
Let's debrief your play experience.
There's plenty to say.
Well, Kyle, you're the one that reached out about getting on the podcast as a way to promote Come At Me. Why don't you, as the one that put yourself out there, tell me a little brief part about what Come At Me is, that way people can know what we're talking about, why we have the three of you here, and then
sure.
Isaac and Amy, you can fill in.
Well, really, it's Isaac's brainchild. The show format was your advanced studies at Cold Town, correct?
Yeah, it started as an advanced study project for Cold Town Theater.
What is that for people that don't know?
Oh, sorry.
Cold Town
Sorry,
Theater,
listeners.
Cold Town Theater is a comedy theater here in Austin, and they have a program where it's like 6 to 9 months where people who have been doing improv for a while kind of take a very conservatory approach to some training, and then you end with this project that's supposed to be like it's a show, but it's supposed to serve as a pitch for like a residency type show. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and basically, I'll take it. I'll explain. You want me to explain it? You want to explain it? Okay. Basically, what it is we have volunteers from the audience who, before the show, submit to our Instagram account. They DM us and they submit their Instagram account to be shown on the projector screen, and we interview them about various posts that they have. It's not really a roast show. We're not there to make fun of the people, but if
We're playful.
yeah, playful, we'll get a light razz going.
Yeah.
So then we bring up the person's profile, we talk about it, we ask them questions, have a nice little back and forth. It's more of a back and forth than a straight up storytelling session. But if there is a story, then that's great, and that helps us. And then after we get done doing that for a few minutes, we jump into some scenes about that, the information that we got from them.
Improv comedy made up on the spot, inspired by your Instagram.
There it is.
And we've had some really interesting people in the audience that we've pulled profiles from. Like just last night, someone who makes props for movies and has a full-on stormtrooper costume they made. And I remember a couple weeks ago we had a whole bunch of interesting
We've had a lot of interest. Even just last night, there was a botanist. Like I don't talk to botanists on a daily, so like it was really interesting to.
Yeah.
You said
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was going to highlight what you were saying. We had a botanist, we had a prop maker, and we had a guy from the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
We've had 2 weeks in a row. People on planes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of pilots fly in specifically for our Saturday night show.
a lot of people fly in for the show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we definitely get people passing through Austin for the weekend for other things, and it's kind of fun to have them drop in and have this be their Austin comedy experience, I think.
The last show that I took some time off to do the play, and
What was the play
the
called
play was
again?
Death Trap by Ira Levin.
Thank you,
It was
thank
a
you.
Jarrett Productions. 8 of 12 shows sold out.
Yeah.
But before I left, we had two women who were just like having like a girls' night out, and they both submitted their profiles, and they
Wait,
got
women having a girls' night out? How does that? No.
But that's their words, not mine. And a women's night out.
Yeah.
And they just submitted their profiles, and they had a freaking blast. And it was like so fun to like be with them as they were having this like very unique experience, you know.
Yeah, and something they'll probably talk about for years and years and years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Isaac, when did this idea launch in your brain?
Oh man,
Like the year, like this month, or the
No,
month?
this was a long time ago. This was a pre-pandemic. Probably
wow.
around like 2019 we did the show. I then got on a house team for Fallout. I saw no need to pitch this show because I just wanted to get stage time. And I got on a house team there, and I've been doing that for a long time. Long story short, that house team kind of dissolved, and then there was now that same slot open for any show at Fallout Theater, and Amy and I got together with Mason, and then
Who's the artistic director of Fallout Theater?
yes,
Mason Bidlock.
Yeah.
he's a
Shout
great
out.
guy. We met at Bolden Creek Cafe.
Yeah, our favorite. Can we get sponsored?
Honestly-
delicious vegan foods options for all dietary restrictions.
We're ready to advertise.
Yeah.
We met, and then we brought in Kyle, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
and so fun to play with, and then we made the show. So yeah, this idea originated probably back in 2019.
Wow. And the
Yeah.
first time that you held the show?
Yes, was at another theater, and it was really fun. People, the main problem with the idea was the worry that like, oh man, this show kind of depends on like whether people would want to share their profile or have fun doing that, and the answer was yes. Like it was a blast. Like once you get people their profile up and you start asking them questions, they get very excited about it. Even if they're like shy people, they want to share, and it's an outlet for people to come and share their Instagram and maybe get asked things they don't usually get asked, and feel good, because then we make like a fun show out of it. It's very memorable for everybody.
It's fun to see a show about you, in a sense.
And you do this every week?
Every Saturday night at Fallout at 8:30 p.m. And we've been doing it since July of this year. So
But not Was it July under the branding?
We don't need to get into that.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Okay then.
Well, folks, listen.
It's just
I don't want anyone to think there's some dark secret that we're hiding here. Basically,
But it was called Secret Stash.
yeah, but really, it was a very bright and happy secret.
Yeah.
Basically, for a while, we did a month of shows as quote unquote Secret Stash was our name, and it was really just an Armando style show to get to for chemistry building purposes, and then we
Yeah.
launched Come At Me proper.
Which for non-improv heads, Armando is just a name of a format where the improv is based off of storytelling or interviews from an audience. So what we're doing is a variation of that where the storytelling comes from people's Instagram profiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And each of the three of you are on, you perform for the show, but when I scroll through the Come At Me Instagram, like I see a
whole
rotating,
cast,
yeah. So you have others that come in and out. You have guest performers.
It's us. Really, the rest of the cast we think of as guests.
No.
Just us
No,
three,
we do
and then
not.
it's 9 guests. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
I know
I'm
who the
kidding.
diva is of the three.
Yeah,
of you.
no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, it's always the actor.
Ira Levin's Death Trap sold out. We got 12 productions. Joke.
Yeah, we have a core cast of 12, which are really great performers, pulled from all over, from Chicago, from Austin. Everybody lives here now, obviously. It's a really well-balanced group, and we do occasionally have guests. So we have a list of people who sub into the show, which makes it fun, too.
Yeah, and pretty much one of the things that I really like about it is that pretty much all the guests are people that audition for the show, and it's such a big talent pool here. I mean, we can only have so many people in the core cast, so we have this great group. It's really a secondary group of subs that come in when we need them, and they're people that are familiar with the show and that we think are really talented, and so it's really nice. And having them sub multiple times, there's chemistry built in, so it's really nice. It's a really nice setup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people who don't do improv maybe are confused about, the group is still rehearsing and practicing and building chemistry behind the scenes and learning to do what they do better. Even if everything on stage is made up, there's still like a strict rehearsal process. And we have some really great coaches. Lisa Friedrich, who's one of the co-owners of Fallout Theater, coaches us. And we've also been coached by Carlos Larota, another one of the owners here at Fallout. So I think we felt really supported from Fallout Theater as like an institution in growing as performers and having this stage time. So we're appreciative of that.
What's the worst Instagram account you've ever seen?
Well, we do look at them before we pick them,
Yeah.
but outside of that,
Yeah, so sometimes we'll look at them and it'll be like someone will volunteer and they have like 4 posts, and it's like that's kind of tough. That's not, hey man, you seem like a super nice guy, but we got to talk about your stuff. You don't have any stuff. So yeah, that's probably like the thing we run into the most. Yeah, I don't want to like roast anyone who's
no.
submitted to the show.
Yeah.
Well,
but-
the flip is. Oh, did you go ahead?
I have the opposite opinion. I feel like it's so fascinating when people have only 4 posts, because then you can
You're
kind
right.
of, you can kind of like grill them a little bit.
We should
or-
have gone through each one. We
Yeah.
should have covered his entire profile.
100% coverage.
The worst part, in my opinion, is when you ask them about something and then they don't want to talk about it, and it's like, all right, we're just
the
gonna
post out there.
talk about your post without you.
Yeah. I think I don't like. I think by and large, we really get we get good profiles, usable profiles.
Yeah.
What really takes them to the next level is the person, and how open they're willing to be, and how playful they are, and it's also incumbent on us as the people asking the questions to ask the right questions and to ask open-ended questions and to not kind of put them in a position where they're having to say yes or no. You know?
One of the most memorable moments for me, just because it was funny, was it was just a regular guy. He had vacation photos. We all have vacation photos on Instagram, and he had a picture just of him shirtless on the beach, and one of us asked the question of like, who took this? And his response was, my cousin. And we were like, wait, hold up, why'd you say it like that? And he went on a whole story about like, oh, I'm never going on a trip with him again. It was so hard. It was so hard for him to take a picture of me. I was like, what do you mean? He just didn't want to take pictures of me. And then this cousin kept popping up on other posts as a commenter, and it was fun to see his whole universe come alive in his Instagram grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was that guy specifically was he's like one of my favorites that we ever did, and it was like one of the first shows we did. He was one of the guys, and he was he was good. He was just like this like normal guy who just had a lot of funny little details about his trip to Mexico and his cousin and all this other stuff.
Yeah, so I was gonna follow up with Isaac. You've now shared one of your favorite accounts that you've been able to draw stuff out for the stage. And Kyle, do you have your own personal favorite of an account and how that one became your favorite?
I really liked that guy's, but I'm trying to think of another one. We had those two ladies that came in for the women's night of amusement.
Thank you for upgrading your term.
The human persons.
Fun
time of
times.
joy. Yes. I actually knew her, and so but I hadn't spoken to her in a long time, and she came in. It was such a nice little reunion, and she her attitude and her spirit about the show was so great, and you could tell she was having a blast with it, was so down to joke, so down to have a good time. Hers was a lot of travel pictures of her and her kids. But like I said, one of my favorite things about her interview was her. And it was the lights would go down, and as the lights would go down for her scenes, she said, "Thank you guys so much. That was so much fun." And it was no one's ever thanked us on the spot, and that it was such a great time to do her stories. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great when you get to talk to people after the show who volunteered and hear what a fun time they had. I think some of my favorites are when one person out of a couple chooses to be interviewed, but the photos are about both of them. So you're hearing one person's side of, tell us how you met, tell us how you got engaged, tell us about this. But then you can clearly see their partner there probably has a different interpretation of the vows. And one time we did get to ask a follow-up question of the partner sitting next to them. And it was just such a fun experience about the way we, as people, have our own points of view that are, filtered or biased towards us.
Was this a Star Wars?
No.
Okay.
This was a few weeks ago. It was about a Disney World proposal.
Yeah, at the Star Wars park in Disney World.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So that was just really funny to hear the guy's point of view about how that day went leading up to the surprise proposal at the Disney park. And then because his partner was sitting right there, we were able to ask, and what's your point of view on how that day went?
It was different.
Yeah.
Things got tense in the room.
Yeah.
There's little details like that, like things like in people's Instagram bio, they'll have things like married too, and then they'll have the username of their partner, and then we'll go click on the partner's profile, and they don't have the same thing in their bio.
You get that a lot.
Yeah, and it's really funny. It causes a big energy boost in the audience because they're in on it too. They're like, oh, it gets dramatic, but it's all fun.
Yeah, last night we had a guy who in his bio it was a little lock, and then the little emoji for a groom and a bride. And we made a little joke about before he was married, it was unlocked, and there was other stuff. And then he quoted Drake, some Drake lyric that he would not say again, because as soon as he said it, his wife was like, no, don't repeat that. We tried to get him to say it again, and the wife's like, no, we're moving on.
He will not.
Yeah, pretty much he will not. And I thought it was going to be one of those things where it's we're kind of laughing, but then he's going to say it, but no. That was not a joke in their world. So yeah, that was pretty funny.
The best part about the show is when the audience members feels like they can just be really honest.
Yeah.
And, it is a safe space. So if they want to also talk shit about somebody in their profile, or I remember Amy, you were interviewing somebody and it was wedding photos, and one of them you noticed someone had their eyes closed, and you made a comment of like, oh, she's probably not happy about that, and the lady was like, yeah, I don't even know her. Yeah, I didn't get along with her.
Someone's got to be sacrificed in every group pick. And
Yeah.
this time it was her.
There was, remember that we a few weeks ago we had the 3, was it 2 or 3 women who are all like at UT students currently, and they had pictures of them two together, and there was a third friend who had to take all the pictures.
Oh,
and that third friend sort of became a character because they're like, oh, this is the friend who doesn't get to be in the pictures. This is the one that gets to take the pictures.
Yeah. They were pretty savage too, but they were so honest. They were like, because we asked them, did they get invited? Did that third person get invited tonight to the show? And they were like, no.
Nah. And it seemed like they were saying no in a way where that was intentional.
Of course
Yeah.
not. She would never. But I think it's interesting, like what we're talking about, like the way people take photos and what they choose to display is like reflective of their broader relationships and attitudes towards other people. So while it seems kind of maybe silly or superficial to be like, it's an Instagram profile show, really what we're hoping to learn about is like people and how they feel about other people and like those interactions.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're almost getting caught up in a study of character, which is a lot of what you do as improvisers and as performers. So
and those are really like when we can get those kind of questions asked that, you know, like last night we had a prop maker, and some of the questions that we asked him were like, what was the moment that you knew that you wanted to switch to do props? Like what was an important moment? What was an important prop that you've made? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you do crafts outside of this? All this other stuff, and like, so the goal really is to like find out about this person through. Well, yeah. Why'd you post this? You know, what is it about this that is you want to share?
Yeah, because your profile represents some like 10% version of you that you chose to put this a little bit out into the world. Why did you pick that? Why does that represent you? So it's interesting to see what people choose.
So I want to ask, you rehearse for the show. How do you rehearse? Do you just do a random selection of Instagram accounts and practice that way?
Yeah. Well, sometimes we'll pull from cast profiles. So one of us will volunteer to share and be the storyteller for that round. So it simulates what happens with the actual audience.
And then we also do, so we rehearse the format, but some of the most, I feel like, beneficial practices we've had have been, like we did a few weeks ago, we did a one that was just about physicality and being comfortable with like touch on stage and using our bodies on stage in more ways than just walking out and talking. And that helped create not just like comfort with physicality, but just sort of like a level of like chemistry and comfort with each other. Which I think makes more believable and funnier scenes. It adds colors to your palette comedically, and I think it also, like when you have that chemistry, it's more fun to watch, and so it's the audience gets to watch us have fun on stage, and that's infectious, and that energy is contagious.
Yeah.
Like you've heard the phrase probably at the end of a show, a host will say, if this looks like fun, it is, and I think that's for the audience, half of it is, you know, who cares what the show concept is, but we came to have fun with other people having fun. And so if the cast is bonded and on stage and clearly enjoying themselves, that's the key element of a good show, I think.
You've been quiet, Isaac.
Oh, for that question, because our rehearsal process is like doing the show, but like Kyle said, like finding these exercises that elevate different elements of the show, because at the end of the day, we're trying to create a really fun theatrical improvised experience, and I think we really deliver on that. I think we get like both audience participation in a way I haven't experienced before, and we get a really solid cast really working on elevating the show in every aspect, and I feel like we're just getting better and better.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, because it was your idea in 2019. Is the show turning out to be as much fun as you had conjured in your head back then?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first did the
What
show...
if you said no?
Yeah, I know.
He's like,
No, I did the show initially with just... I have a trio group called Eeny Meeny Beanie Babies, and I did it with them too, and it was so much fun. And now we have 10 other people who bring different points of views, different playing styles, and that just makes it a show where even more people can find something to enjoy, I think.
One of the things that I know, Kyle, you've been very conscientious about is presenting this like it. It's not a roast of anybody's account that is willing to share, themselves. Have there been moments where you could tell that the person kind of wants to be roasted, so you go in a little bit deeper, or do you ever like maybe after the show say, "Man, I really wanted to roast that"?
No, it's funny. Like, so my favorite part of the show personally is like asking the questions, is the dialogue. I ask a lot of the questions to me and Amy are like we mainly ask a lot of the questions, and or I don't know how you like we sort of like guide the interview because everyone chips in questions.
Right. We get to stand closest to the screen, which is where you get to point at the pictures.
Yeah, so since I'm close and I'm pointing at the pictures,
people look at you. Because it's like they feel kind of like they're being interviewed one-on-one, but also by the group. So it is like that intimate experience we spoke of where people really want to share in a conversation.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Like, I enjoy interview, like talking to them, but what it ends up being a lot of times is like everyone else asking questions, then I'm just making jokes about the screen. But
that's the part he loves.
That's the part. That's a more accurate representation of it. Everyone else is doing the work, and I'm just hitting.
You're the roast
clunkers.
light part.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So the question was, are there moments where I want to roast, or how do I know when to roast?
Yeah.
It's okay, so now I remember why I brought that up. Because like in the moment when you're having the conversation with the people, you really can get a vibe really quickly if they're going to be open to that, and if that's the energy that they're putting out. And so it's really, they let us know, like through their responses and through their energy, if that's kind of like what they're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we've had both end of the spectrums. We've had someone literally ask, "Go ahead, roast me."
Yeah.
And then we've had people who said later, "Well, I was afraid to answer any questions and details because I was afraid you would roast me."
Yeah.
So like it really is all over.
Yeah, sometimes they even roast me.
That's Isaac's dynamic when he interviews.
I do.
Like,
I do invite it though. It is funny, but I'll ask like I think a diverse set of questions, like some really good and then some like. I remember I asked somebody, "What'd you take this photo with? A flash?" I asked, "What'd you take this photo with?" And the way they said it was really funny. They said,
camera. Yeah.
They said, "Flash," and they just kind of said like that was a stupid question with their answer.
Yeah, I mean, at the top of the show, whoever's hosting is always sure to notify the audience, like, this is not a roast show. We're not gonna, but also, like, if there's something dumb on your profile, we might get you with it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun and playful conversation. Like, they're in on the joke. So it's, we together pick the photos we look at. And if it's something they want to share, they're kind of excited about it. So there is the element, I think, of I want someone to draw attention to me in a playful way, but it never gets, like, seriously. Look, like an actual roast is so mean.
Yes.
Like, we don't do that.
Mean, yeah.
Like,
I did, yeah. So I will say, like, I've done one roast in my life. It hurt my feelings. I will not be. I still think about it every now and then. I won't be attending again.
I think the best aspect of the show is just when people are honest. Like,
yes,
when people we ask about a post and like the intention behind it, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, this was like a thirst trap," and then like we ask them about like, okay, like who. The person you were trying to get their attention, did they like the photo or did they comment on it? And like getting like juicy stuff out of that. That's the funnest part. It's just when you make someone comfortable enough to be honest, and then you don't even have to roast them because they're saying all the juicy stuff that's vulnerable without like poking at them. You just like let them talk about it, and that's like the best part.
I love gossip. I also, my favorite part too is like we don't just look at the pictures, we'll go into the comments and see who's like talking to them and expand. Well, how did you reply to that comment? And it's always so good.
Yeah, we had, speaking of the profile you asked me about earlier, the woman that I knew previously that came to the show and shared her profile, she had a group of comments. This one man who commented on a few comments, put pictures of her in a row, and so we were all like, "Who's this? Like, this guy's throwing some game here." And that was really fun.
It's really cool to see the difference, or like how actually, I feel like I hear a lot of comments of like, "Oh, people's persona on Instagram is so curated," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is, in my opinion, yeah," and I think people are aware of that. But they're also at the same time very open to discussing like that, like why it's curated or why they chose to post something. And when people are just so honest about that intention and they just are allowed to be real in the moment talking about their Instagram profile, that's the funnest part. Like that's cool. I think it makes everybody in the room feel like less alone in that regard.
Yeah, it's like the universal experience of everyone who has some form of social media, like being open about that decision-making process about how we engage with it.
Because we have a range of profiles. Some where it's like Kyle said, like they don't post that much. Some where like they post a lot, and some where it's like an artist, and then sometimes just a botanist who has like really cool stories about plants.
Yeah, we've had a few musicians that have come and have shared, and then sometimes we'll play their songs, like because they'll have like
cool.
links in the bio, so we'll just like play their song, and then we'll ask him about the song. We had one guy who wrote a breakup song, and we asked him about his breakup song, and that was a lot of fun. So it's kind of like we'll explore a little bit with the audience too.
Yeah, another universal experience, the breakup song.
Yeah, it's a good song too. Thank God. Yeah.
We dropped the handle right now if we could remember it.
I know. Hey, guy, reach out.
Yeah.
Well, I'd actually like to pivot the conversation now to find out a little bit about each of you as individual humans. We've learned we can't say the other words.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know.
Us girls, you can talk to us girls.
And I usually
me and
ask
Isaac.
an icebreaker. So we're just going to do this rapid fire. One word to describe your past. So Amy, go. You're improviser. So
Wait, our improvised past or our life past?
Yeah.
your lives past. It's very open ended, actually.
Oh, okay. Curious.
Orange.
Varied?
Okay.
Varied? I don't know.
Varied.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, one of the things that struck me about your opening introductions is that you have backgrounds with Cold Town Theater. I'm going to do a little shameless self-promotion that the Austin Chronicle last month released an article about Cold Town Theater. And so you've do all three of you, or is it mostly you, Amy, and Isaac are also performers and
We all perform there.
participants?
Yeah.
A really cool
Okay.
thing about the improv theaters here is that we all like perform at all the theaters, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was something that came out in this article that nobody has seen because it's coming out next week. But for this purpose of it being out on 12/17, this came out last.
Oh, I understand what we're
month.
doing
Yeah.
now. We're jumping in time.
Yes, we're jumping in
I'm
time.
ready for Christmas.
Is the sense of community among the improv theaters. So, we are recording in the Fallout Theater podcast studio, and it's not, jumping in flames because you are Cold Town performers. It's all very collaborative and it's very nice that there's that sense of community between the theaters. So, Amy, I know you have a pretty big role at Cold Town.
Yes. So I do. So I mentioned earlier, the weekly show that Kyle and I are in, and Isaac's in another weekly show there. I also teach improv at Cold Town, so level 1 beginning students, people who want to learn. But I do behind the scenes stuff with Cold Town as well. So like kind of project management, staff meetings. So
Yeah.
I've been doing that for the past few years. So Cold Town, just to divert a little, is, and I think Fallout experiences this too. Improv theaters, performing arts, art spaces across Austin have had a rough time
Yes.
over the past few years. And Cold Town Theater has been, for the past year, in a brand new space to rent, which they're very lucky to have found, but it's temporary. So I think, we're talking about the fun stuff, the shows, what the audience sees, but the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes to keeping places like Cold Town Theater and Fallout Theater afloat. There's, huge staff and owners who really treat this as their passion projects. And so I definitely want to give credit where credit is due to people who keep performing art spaces open in Austin, because were it not for those efforts, we couldn't be here doing our little Instagram
Yeah.
jokey jokes, you know, which is the fun part, but there's so much work behind that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm saving you for last, Isaac, so I'm going to turn to...
Sure. So the question is...
the question is, I guess, tell me about your background as you, Kyle, the individual.
Yeah. Well, the reason I said varied is because like I started doing like comedy, I feel like kind of late. Like I didn't start doing comedy or anything on stage like as an actor or anything until I was like 29. Before that I was doing music and like writing, like, and so my path to comedy was a little bit sideways, I guess you could say. But yeah, I don't know. Like I echo everything that Amy said. I think the theaters are separate and everything, but it's all one big community. A rising tide lifts all ships. So I see the work that I do at Cold Town as being just as important as the work I do here, and yeah, I value the community here so much and the ability to do this sort of comedy. It's not available everywhere, so and not even in every big city. I mean, I don't want to speak about any other Texas towns, but I do know that like Austin is sort of a rare gem in that way.
Yeah, I don't think Orlando has something like this.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
a safe one to name.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I does that answer the question?
Sure,
Of my background.
Yeah.
I started at Cold Town and kind of like worked my way up, and I had a really great experience working with Amy in a sketch group called Prayer Circle. And that's where did first sketch show and did a lot of improv with them. I had a team, Mediterranean Avenue, I was in for a long time that I really loved. And then my big crossover to Fallout here was I did Terminator the Musical, which was a transformative experience for me as a performer. It was really, really incredible. And then I was lucky enough to get into this show running team. There was a really great show put on by Amy and Isaac and Pete Parsons and Maddie Cordovano called Pioneers. That Pete and Maddie moved away, so there was this sort of like spot where they were going, what are we going to put here? And they were working together, and they were kind enough to invite me to join their show running team, and so that's how I got in on Come At Me, and this has been an incredible experience and a huge honor to be a part of.
The reason that I left you for last, Isaac, is because I haven't seen Amy or Kyle perform. I've seen the trailer to one of your short films. So that's, the closest. So I wanted to, your background is interesting from that perspective, that, you haven't always been a stage performer. You're like this, and Kyle and Amy, feel free to chime in if you were also filmmakers. But, Isaac, you have this really interesting multi-layered aspect to you.
Yeah. Thank you for do you know which trailer?
Pepito.
Pepito. Yeah. Pepito was it was my first short film that I wrote, produced, and starred in.
And got awards.
It got awards.
Major.
It did the festival circuit, and miraculously it won the HBO short film competition, which part of the competition, if you win it, was you end up on HBO. And that was really pivotal and really just cool. That doesn't happen in short films. So that was like very validating and reaffirming, and has helped me in like getting money for my next projects that I've made. But I would say I'm still early in my career, in the filmmaking career. I'm still I think towards the end of my short film making part of my career, where you build a portfolio of short films to showcase your work, your ability as a director. And I just finished my last short film called The Son Who Can't Play Trumpet, which I got some of that money from HBO. They gave me a grant to make, and I got to film in my hometown. But I said orange when you said describe like your previous life in one word, just because like one, just the color orange is like very just, I think of my past in orange, but also because one of the most pivotal moments, and I don't mean to name drop, but like it was when I was an intern at Conan. I went to LA to be a monologue intern for Conan O'Brien, and during my time there, I actually did start out on stage. That was where like my what's it called, foundation came. I was like an improv nerd. I spent all my time at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater studying, seeing shows. And during my time at Conan, I had a blast, but I also found out that that's not what I want to do. I had an incredible time there. I came to the realization that I want to make my own stuff, and I can't do that here in LA just because it's expensive. There's a big barrier to entry. So I made a decision there to come back to Austin, really try my best to make an impact on and get in and make an impact on the improv community here in Austin, which it is easier to get more stage time here in Austin than it is in LA. It's really, I love it, but it's just that there's just more people, not as many chances are given. So I came back here, and that's what I love about this community and this place is that I'm allowed to get more stage time and hone in on my craft with people I love and have a good time. And I feel like a lot of the people here are still just as disciplined as in LA or New York and have a really great playing style. And I was allowed to make my projects with the support of the artistic community here in Austin that also includes like other improvisers. So I could have gone like another path when I was at my internship there and stayed there, but I decided like I want to try things and make things and do things on my own terms. And I feel like I've been allowed to do that here in Austin.
Mm-hmm. You directed another recent short film pulling from a lot of your improviser friends as actors.
I did, yeah, and it involved who we talked about earlier, Pete
Parsons, Maddie Cordovano.
Yeah, and I got to use a lot of the Fallout community here to make it happen. We actually rehearsed the blocking for all the film here, and it recently played at the Austin Film Festival in October, and it played really well, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an audience favorite for sure.
Yeah.
Isaac's a very talented director and comedian, so to see those two forces come together, like in a way, I don't think you could do it without your full improv background and without your full film background. So you can see both at play.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool. So I don't know how intentional it was, but the three of you like have these you're in different parts of the creative experience. Your contributions are not only on stage but behind the stage. You're very much in this like full creative mode of creating your own things, and you're selling out 8 out of 12 shows at a theater production. And mostly focused on stage performance.
Yeah. Well, I did. I mean, like I in December I put on my first show that was mine that I wrote and I guess co-directed and produced, and that was a satirical acting workshop called Getting Inside an Actor with Jeff Gyllenhaal. And yeah. I can't believe I didn't mention that, but we did not sell out 8 of 12 shows. I can tell you that much. But yeah, so like I am still sort of trying to learn the production side of it and the directing side of it. That is like a goal of mine to definitely figure out how to get on the other side. Because one of the guys that was in the show. I mean, I really have a lot of respect for Isaac and Amy. Amy is really someone that I really look up to as far as work ethic and focus and just really, really an incredible leader. And so I kind of like want to learn more about that the production side there. And one of the guys that worked with me on Getting Inside, actor Kyle Romero, is an incredible director, and I sort of backdoored him into co-directing the show by having him in the cast. But then I was like, hey, but
what do you think?
How does this look? Can you sit in the audience and watch it and tell me what you think? And he's like, I remember at one point I was like, thanks for co-directing this with me, and he's like, well, usually people will pay me for this. But yeah, so I want to learn, about that. And then and Isaac as well, like just as far as his ability to have such incredible bandwidth to take on these huge projects that really, man, I wouldn't know square one how to start on getting a short off the ground and getting it distributed and stuff. And so like to see him do that while also managing to come in and crush improv, it's, I don't know. I actually don't know how I got on this topic, but I'm just gloating about my fellow showrunners here.
Wow. That's good improv energy. It's lifting each other up. Yeah, and I would say, to what Isaac spoke to earlier, in a scene like Austin, there really is room for you to explore all aspects of things that you want to get into: teaching, directing, performing, production. And on one hand, it is kind of necessary to do it all because it really is sort of a self-starting scene. Like if you want to put a show up, you're going to do everything from beginning to end. So it gives you a chance to develop those skills, which I think is really cool. And yeah, it is a team approach in improv and in show running. So part of, why it's not just one person running the show is, one, that wouldn't be very fun. And two, we all bring skills to the table that make the production more, well fleshed out and an experience to be part of. And I hope the cast feels like the experience is fun to be a part of and they feel supported, and that the audience feels like it's fun to be a part of and they feel supported. And I think Isaac and Kyle and I each contribute to a part of that in our own ways. And, to uplift Kyle too, since you complimented both of us, I feel the need to return.
Thank God. Be as rambly and long-winded as possible to kind of take the focus off of me.
I feel like Kyle, you said you came to improv later in life, but I think your passion for improv and comedy and performance arts, people, improv is like, oh, is it just comedy? It's really performance art. It's theater, and really pushing the envelope and delving into those aspects, like you all were talking about earlier, like a workshop on physicality. That's not something the audience might think of, but it's a stage production. It's a visual art. It's not just about making a bunch of jokes. And, Kyle's commitment to that and bringing that to the show really adds to it. And so like the acting background in the theater, that like bleeds over here. And, the way Isaac sees things from a great director's point of view and shape of show helps make the show better. So like each of these things in other areas of life come together here. And I think that's the fun thing about improv, is whatever strengths and experiences and interests people have with this group of, 3 showrunners and a cast of 12, only this group of people can make this show. And it wouldn't be like this if you subbed out any one other person.
Amy, you're involved in Austin Sketch Fest. You're involved in Cold Town Management. You teach and you perform and show run. What's a creative goal or ambition that you have for yourself?
That's a good question. I think what I like to be in a role where I'm supporting the continued existence of the community, because kind of like I alluded to earlier, it's not a given that Austin has the scene, and I've been able to learn so much and have such a great creative experience, taking classes at Cold Town, 6 or 7 years ago, coming in from nothing and having that be my entry into like comedy performance, and keeping those doors open for future generations of people who want to learn and want to become performers and future directors and producers. So I think it motivates me to serve a role, whatever that is, whatever kind of leadership, to help make sure that the doors are open for people in Austin who want to learn comedy and want to get into performance. And the way I used to look up to people when I started years ago and see, I used to watch really great all-women improv team, Loverboy, who's very famous, and just seeing that and being like, oh, that looks fun. Could I do that? And having that experience continue to be a part of Austin is something that motivates me, I think.
Isaac?
What was the question?
Well, you're all of 19. If I, as the old person, I could say you look like you're all of 19. You've already accomplished short films. You're show running. You're performing. What's a creative ambition that you have?
Creative ambition that I have is to move full time into TV and film directing. That's cool. Pretty easy for me to answer.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
If you say it, it will become true.
I hope so. Yeah. Working on it.
Nice.
I feel like I've already talked way too much, so I'm going to keep mine pretty brief. I think for me, my goal right now is to just become. It's more of like it's not a huge, big project goal. It's more just like a personal development goal. Like as a performer, as an improviser, I just want to continue to grow, to get better at this. I mean, I love it. I love it. So I want to try to get better, become more well-rounded, and grow with this team. Yeah.
Yeah. When you said like maybe a professional goal, I think I kind of hesitated because for me, it's like I'm doing this for fun. So, I mean, I appreciate Isaac has a very professional approach to film directing, and that's necessary too. But, I have, and I don't want to talk about it in the podcast, but I have a whole nother day job where I actually spend most of my time. And then this is a thing that I do in my life to stay well balanced and connected to creativity and community. So, we all have a lot of lives we're living, and, we're talking about one here on the podcast. But for me, I don't know that improv or the comedy community is necessarily something that I want to see like as career. And if that's even possible, I want to see it as like, it's important for us to have lifelong hobbies and creative outlets and communities that we connect into. And I think improv, no matter the level that you want to get engaged, serves a great purpose for that, in a very isolated society where people are like, I don't know what to do with my free time, or I don't know how to connect to new friends in adulthood, or I work and I don't feel like I get to do anything creative with my life, or, if I can't make money off of it, why should I do it? And what I like about improv and comedy and performance here in Austin is it's not all tied up in industry like that. You can do things for the joy of it. And like there is inherent joy and pleasure in just coming and doing a weekly show. And so I feel like as long as I'm doing that, that's where I want to be.
Okay. Don't talk about joy. I'm going to have to talk. I didn't want to talk anymore.
Oh, well, please do, though.
Well, just to kind of second what Amy said about sort of like the attraction improv. I think for me, like what I love about this show and specifically the energy that it brings to Saturday nights and to Fallout and just people, the audience's lives in general, like for that night, it's this really positive, joyful energy. It's very much like by the end of the show, it really feels like the audience is on stage with us. It really feels like we're because we're joking around with them. We're kind of like needling them a little bit. And like just to get that dose of joy every week, for me personally, it feels great. And it feels great to like share that with an audience, to share that with this cast. So I don't know. That's cultivating that and trying to get more people in to see the show and to share that energy. I think that's my big goal partially as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you're all professionals because you knew that we're starting to wind towards the end, and you were able to bring it back to come at me.
Hey,
so,
now.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
At symbol come.atext.me. Follow us on Instagram for sure.
Well, I'm going to do another rapid fire here as we close out, and I'm going to ask you one word to describe your future. I'm going to start with you, Kyle.
Determined.
Okay. Isaac?
Teal.
Ooh, that's a big color contrast. Let's see.
He's going to be on Bravo.
Are those their colors?
I don't know.
Let's see. I don't know. Expansive.
I have no idea how I'm going to do my little visual that I usually do when I collect the first and future words. But, that's on me to figure out. That's not on you. Very good. Okay, so let's spend the last couple of minutes just another... tell me in the, let's see, in the most creative way that you can think of, another compelling reason for why folks should come check out Come At Me.
I mean, I think it's very fun and funny. So if you want to have a good time, you want to laugh, you want to enjoy the experience either directly or secondhand through the interviews, like literally it's just fun. It's okay to come have fun. It's okay for us to just have fun. It's what Saturday night is for. Everybody's a very talented performer, and I'm always laughing at them from the sidelines. So I don't know why anyone else wouldn't want to come watch y'all. So
a compelling reason is like, man, I was watching like a movie the other week, and I spent like $40 at the Alamo Draft House, and I was like,
ching ching.
And I won't say what movie it was, but I came out of it and I was like, oh, that sucked. And I like to think I see the show objectively of like, oh, that was a good show or that was a bad show. I've never walked out of a Come At Me show and been like, oh man, I didn't have a good time, or I don't think the audience had a good time. because no matter what, like like Amy said, we have a talented group of improvisers, but it's also like a night where it's you can get connection at a very low stakes. Like even if you don't want to participate, you feel very connected to what's going on because it feels like a hangout. Because the lights go down, it's dark, someone's profile is on blast, and it's a very vulnerable thing, and everybody's like thinking about, ooh, can I do that next time? And like you can feel like some people's hearts are racing a little bit, thinking about, should I share my profile? And that's like just a very real experience that happens every Saturday night at the show that you maybe can't get at other shows, or maybe at other shows it's like very just like, oh, we're gonna do like just a regular improv format, which is fine, but at this show you do find a connection no matter what. Like no matter what you think about the improv, the stories and someone being on the spot and vulnerable, like that is so cool, and you can't get that at a lot of other shows. You can't get that at a movie sometimes, and I love movies, and sometimes I feel a little empty or something after a movie, and I've never felt that way after walking away from a Come At Me show.
Better than the movies. That's our new advertisement.
There you go. Yeah.
It doesn't cost $40.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say anything more than what they've already said, but really, for me, the allure for a prospective audience member is like Isaac said, it's fun, connection. It's a great electric feeling of connection, and like Amy said, it's really fun. The energy is great. I don't think I can put it any more simply than that. I think it's a fun electric show that allows you to connect in a fun, safe way, and I thought I had something.
Yeah, you can support local live theater. I mean, Fallout's an Austin
Yeah.
institution. We've got lots of new comedy theaters coming in from out of town, but Austin has been creating comedy for a long time. Like I think we've talked about, and Fallout's one of the originals. So if you want to experience that slice of real, local, authentic community, well, you still can.
Yeah.
You should come support.
Oh, now I remember what I was going to say. Thank God. No, but like kind of, I think you kind of started to hit on it, Isaac, was like, yes, the improv is great, but like the interviews and the fun, we laugh a lot. Like a lot of the laughs are in the interview. Like, so you're laughing. Maybe you're not a huge improv fan. Well, hey, like you can still laugh because the interviews are going to be funny, and the improv is going to be funny if you do like improv. So it's just like, I think it is an improv show, but it's also this great fun interview show as well. So I think it's got a broad appeal.
Yeah, it's improv, it's storytelling, it's, spontaneous interviewing. It's exciting, and it's all live, and, just like improv, it's all made up on the spot, and you can only see it if you're literally there in person that night, not recorded, not available anywhere else. So
Very good. All right. Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham Presents. Kyle Irion, Amy Knapp, Isaac Garza of Come At Me at Fallout Theater. Kyle, Amy, and Isaac, tell us where we can find the show. And if you want people to follow your activities, tell us where to do that.
Well, Come At Me has an Instagram account at come.atex.me because we needed to find one that wasn't taken. So at is atex. So follow us there. And if you do want to come see a show and participate, that's also where you DM us. But also follow Fallout Comedy on Instagram and check out their website, falloutcomedy.com, where you can learn more about all the other shows that happen at this theater and classes and corporate workshops.
What Amy said, and if you want to learn more about what I do, I think I post what I'm doing on Instagram at Isaac Garza with 3 A's at the end.
Yep. And if you want to follow me, you can't. I have no future upcoming projects other than this and a very special episode, which is a weekly show over at Cold Town Fridays at 8 p.m. So if you want to see me and Amy, you can see us there, or you can see us.
Yeah, you can see us Friday and Saturday if you are a big fan. If you
want to have a nice big weekend, and then hit on Sunday, you can go over to Cold Town and see All Night. You can see Isaac and his Herald team.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
I love that team so much as well. If you're an improv nerd or have never seen the Herald, you should come see the Herald. It's a classic long form improv format that is just so dear to my heart.
Yeah, don't undersell it though. It's not just for improv nerds. That's a great show.
It is.
It's a really, really good show.
And those shows you can find at coldtowntheater.com, which has shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and also classes. I mentioned I teach at Cold Town, so if you want to learn to do improv, you could come learn from me.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Kyle, Amy, and Isaac of Come At Me got to be the comedic geniuses and creative forces in Austin today, as much as I have learned. This has been Comedy Wham Presents Kyle, Irion, Amy Knapp, Isaac Garza of Come At Me at Fallout Theater. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you, Kyle, Amy, and Isaac.
Thank you,
Thank
Valerie.
you,
Thank you.
Valerie. You're a great interviewer too, by the way.
Oh,
So.
thank you.